see the words. It was frustrating being laid in bed and not being able to get out and about. The nurse explained to him that he'd had a heart attack and that he would be being monitored for the next few weeks. He was so happy that Polly was there that he didn't think that he could have pulled through without her. Like an angel, she held his hand and comforted him. His eyes filled with tears, but they were tears of joy. Slowly he accepted the situation, but he couldn't wait to get out of there. The next few days went by slowly and he improved. He began to listen to the radio and took an interest in the outside world again. Polly had told him that she had a surprise for him when he got better, and this spurred him on. He concentrated on his reading, and this took his mind off his illness and the boredom of being bedridden. Each book took him on a flight of fancy, and he felt himself transported from the confines of his hospital bed. He read Treasure Island and he imagined himself as a swashbuckling adventurer, and then he read Time Machine, and his imagination really took hold. He imagined himself as a caveman scavenging for food as the sky exploded with lightning, and then he was a sailor on rough seas heading for lands unknown. Then he found himself scrambling in the trenches with his boots full of mud as bullets passed him around him. He had a vivid imagination. Before he knew it, it was dark outside, and he pulled the covers up and drifted off to sleep. His main concern was that Polly would be visiting tomorrow, and he couldn't wait to see her. He dreamt that he was on a long snow-covered road, in his dressing gown and slippers. The snow was blowing in his face and mouth, and he was struggling to see where he was going. Just going to the next page. The distance, he could see a red sports car with the door hanging open invitingly and the engine purring. His slippers were filled with snow, numbing his toes, and he still kept going. He was determined to get in that car and sit on the plush leather seat and drive away. Unfortunately, he plodded on, leaving a trail behind him. Then he looked up, and the car seemed to have moved further into the distance. It must be a mirage, he thought. The closer he got, the further away it became. He was now out of breath and sweating. He picked up the pace, and he was desperate to get in and drive away forever to a new life. He trudged on, the wind whipping around him and trying to blow him over and knock him back like a jealous friend. It was coming down thicker and thicker and falling in his hair and mouth. Hello, viewers. It stung his eyes. It was like he was in a conveyor belt and going the wrong way. In his frustration, he grabbed a handful of snow in his fingers and threw it in at the windshield in anger. When it hit the screen, it shattered into mist, and he was woke with a start. The pillow next to him was ripped, and the foam was covering him. He wiped his face and plucked the pieces from his mouth. It was comical, and he needed to laugh. He looked at the clock, and it was 5 a.m. He sighed and stared at the ceiling, willing for sleep to come. He couldn't wait for Polly to arrive. It was the only thing which kept him going. He drifted off into a daydream about life would be and when he got well. It felt like settling down, but he wasn't sure if Polly would agree to it. Thankfully, he fell asleep again, and Polly arrived with a lovely smile on her face. She'd been chatting to the nurses, and she had good news. He was better, and he could go home. They confirmed he'd made an amazing recovery. When Polly told him, he was ecstatic, and even though the nurses had been nice to him, he couldn't wait to get back to normal life and see Jack again and stroke him. Finally, the time came, and he said goodbye to all the nurses. They were tearful as he gave them a big bunch of flowers. He was a mixture of relief and sorrow, and when he finally climbed into the taxi, though he was weaker in body from when he arrived, he was stronger in spirit. It felt like a dream when he stood at the threshold of her home holding hands. He could sense a better future opening up before him. They sat together on the sofa, and he felt the tears of joy and relief in his eyes. And when he looked at Polly, it was obvious that she felt the same. He held her hand, and he knew that he had to tell her what was in his heart, that her love had kept him going. Her heart was beating fast and he didn't want to end up back in hospital. He clasped her hand tightly. "Will you marry me?" he said hesitatingly. Her eyes went wide, and for a few seconds she was silent. Then she answered, "Yes, of course I will." Relief and joy overwhelmed him. He kissed her, and the pain of the past melted away. He glanced at the clock, which barked happily and made them both laugh. Everything had come full circle, and he was truly fortunate. Hope you like that. The Fortunate Tramp by Jason William Lee on Amazon Co. UK. I'll be reading more soon.